My husband, Jake, was working late. Again. It had become a routine, a pattern I had come to despise. Nights like these, I felt the weight of loneliness settle heavily on my chest. I was young, beautiful, and craved attention, but the man I had vowed to spend the rest of my life with was barely present, consumed by his demanding job. But it wasn't always like this. When Jake and I first got married, we couldn't keep our hands off each other. Every touch sparked fire. Every glance held an unspoken promise. We were passionate, reckless in our love, and unashamed of our desires. We would sneak into dark alleys after late-night dinners, stealing kisses like love-drunk teenagers. We made love in the back seat of his car, in hotel rooms, even once in his office after everyone had left for the night. Our bodies spoke a language of hunger and devotion, and in those moments, the world melted away. Jake was playful, spontaneous, always looking for new ways to keep the spark alive. We would take random road trips, stopping in quiet motels where we could pretend to be strangers meeting for the first time. We had inside jokes, whispered secrets, and lazy Sunday mornings tangled in bedsheets. Then reality crept in. Jake's job started demanding more of him. At first, I understood. He wanted to provide for us, to give us a comfortable life. But as the months passed, the playful man I married became buried under spreadsheets, deadlines, and endless meetings. He stopped planning date nights, stopped holding me just because. Sex became routine, predictable, if it happened at all. I missed the urgency, the passion, the feeling of being wanted. I missed him. At first, I tried to be patient. I cooked his favorite meals, sent him affectionate messages, and even suggested taking a weekend trip together. But Jake was always too busy. "Just one more project, sweetheart. I promise, after this quarter, things will calm down." Those were his words. Words that never turned into action. The house, though grand and beautifully decorated, felt more like a prison than a home. The silence was suffocating. I spent my days tidying rooms that no one occupied, preparing meals that went uneaten, and dressing up in clothes Jake never noticed. I would scroll through social media, seeing friends post about their happy marriages, their weekend getaways, their anniversary surprises. I wanted that. I wanted to feel loved, to feel noticed. But every time I reached for Jake, he pulled further away. Then came Kevin. Kevin was one of Jake's co-workers, a charming and confident man with an easy smile and a presence that commanded attention. I had met him at one of Jake's office parties. Unlike Jake, Kevin had time to talk, to flirt, to notice me. He complimented my dress, held my gaze a little too long, and brushed his fingers against mine as we spoke. I felt something I hadn't felt in years, desired. At first, I dismissed it as harmless flirtation. A little attention, a little excitement. It was nothing serious. But as days passed, I found myself anticipating our encounters. I started attending Jake's office events more frequently, hoping to steal a moment with Kevin. I would linger in the kitchen at parties, knowing he would come to refill his drink. I changed my hairstyle, wore dresses I knew would catch his eye. And it worked. The messages started innocently enough. A text here, a compliment there. Then they became more personal. He asked about my day, about my loneliness. He listened in a way Jake never did. Late nights were no longer spent staring at an empty bed. I was texting Kevin, sharing secrets, laughing at inside jokes. And then one night, after one too many glasses of wine, I let my guard down. I told him how neglected I felt, how much I longed for affection. He responded with an invitation, a private dinner. Just the two of us. I knew it was wrong, but I went. One dinner turned into late-night drives, which turned into passionate kisses stolen in dimly lit corners. I told myself I would stop, that it was just a phase. But every time I looked at Jake, distant and distracted, I found another excuse to keep going. Sneaking around became second nature. I memorized Jake's work schedule, planned my meetings with Kevin around his late nights. I cleared my phone history, deleted messages, used a second phone for our conversations. When we met, I ensured it was always at discreet locations, never places where Jake's colleagues or friends might see us. I wore perfumes I never used around Jake, just in case he caught the scent. I washed my clothes separately, careful not to let any traces of Kevin linger. Kevin and I became experts in deception. We met in hotel rooms under fake names. I made up excuses, telling Jake I was visiting an old friend, attending a yoga retreat, or shopping in another town. Kevin taught me the art of secrecy, showing me how to avoid suspicion. I became someone else, a woman who lived two lives. But no matter how careful I was, the guilt gnawed at me. There were nights I would lay beside Jake, listening to his steady breathing, and wonder what I was doing. I told myself he had forced me into this, that if he had just loved me the way he used to, I wouldn't have strayed. I clung to that justification, using it as a shield against the reality of my betrayal. Then, one fateful evening, everything unraveled. Kevin and I were in my marital bed, tangled in each other's arms, lost in the moment. The sound of the door creaking open sliced through our passion like a knife. My heart stopped. I turned my head slowly, and there stood Jake. The air was sucked out of the room. The look on his face was unreadable. I expected fury, shouting, accusations. But instead, he was calm. Too calm. He exhaled deeply, unbuttoned his shirt, and climbed into bed with us. A shiver ran down my spine as Jake leaned in close, his voice low and controlled. "Since you enjoy having another man in our bed," he murmured, "let's make it interesting." Kevin's face turned pale. He looked at me in shock, his usual confidence evaporating. I wanted to speak, to say something, but words failed me. What followed was something I never anticipated. The three of us engaged in an act that left me breathless, confused, and utterly undone. Jake was rougher than usual. He handled me like I wasn't his wife, but some cheap prostitute he picked up on the street. When it was over, Jake got up, dressed himself, and turned to Kevin. "Take her with you," Jake said, his voice devoid of emotion. Kevin, still catching his breath, stammered, I can't. I'm married." Jake let out a short, humorless laugh. "You should have thought of that before you started sleeping with another man's wife." My world crumbled. I turned to Kevin, expecting him to stand up for me, to declare his love, to fight for me. But Kevin wouldn't even meet my eyes. He was a coward, just like I now realized I had been. Jake walked out of the bedroom and down the stairs. Wrapping myself in nothing but shame, I scrambled after him. "Jake, please!" But as I reached the bottom step, I saw it. My belongings, all of them, piled on the front lawn. Clothes, shoes, framed pictures, even the little trinkets I had collected over the years. And sitting on top of it all was an envelope. Divorce papers. Tears burned my eyes. "Jake, don't do this." He turned to me, his face unreadable. "You already did." With those final words, he walked away, leaving me standing in the cold, my world shattered beyond repair.